Hi, this is Neil, with Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. I have been looking forward to this for a very long time. It finally came out after many years. Armored Core is what got me into gaming, or kind of becoming a gamer for the most part. It's a game I played on one of those old demo discs on PlayStation with a group of buddies, and I was pretty much hooked. I got home and asked my mom, who asked my neighbor, to pick up the game for me in town, and she got Master of Arena, and I played that game on repeat many times. And then I played every single Armored Core since then, and I own all of the at least mainline ones, including the expansions for each numbered game and Last Raven. So definitely a big fan of it. I have already platinumed it on PlayStation, and I just played the right at release. I platinumed it, but this is about a year later, and I'm starting a new game. Because I've forgotten quite a lot of it, and I was immediately looking forward to replaying the game, and so I've got it on Steam now, and I'm looking forward to playing it again. I did play the first chapter recently just to kind of remember how to play the game in general, otherwise that would be a headache. So that's what we're going to be doing, starting a new game from scratch, and I'm a big-time Armored Core fan and vet, on top of all the other FromSoft games that have come out since the stopping of Armored Core, and now the resuming of it. I will be shutting up during any of the cinematics or the talking of it, just so that I can hear the game, and so that anybody else who is interested in the story can hear it. I'll put the sound back on now. It was already on. Never mind. I just forgot to turn on my headphones. It's a new game.
We're close to Rubicon. Wake the dog up.
Handler Walter verified. Activating cerebral coral control device. Augmented human C4621 has awakened.
Time to get to work, 621. I'm powering down your entry capsule on my signal. Now, activate the AC.
Descent to ISB 2262, Rubicon 3, complete.
Your position is grid 135. Off target, but within permissible range.
So like I said, I've already played this. I'm playing it on Steam now. I'm using a PlayStation controller, so all those little tooltips on the left are going to be inaccurate for me, and it might throw me off a few times remembering how to do things. Also, I have played Armored Core religiously for many years, and the older games are just muscle memory to me. So you might see me kind of try to do this, bunny hopping, when it's absolutely not the most efficient way of moving around. So you might see me do silly muscle memory mistakes from my past Armored Core gaming. So this point the way that the older games would work was you would have to manually lock on like this, and there was just this, depending on what gun, what FCS you had, it would lock on within different ranges. In this newer Armored Core, you can lock on almost like some of their newer games like Bloodborne or Dark Souls or Elden Ring. But if you do jump over them, it might break the lock. But it definitely operates a little differently. And the swords lock on really well in comparison to the previous games, where it was almost winging it half the time. There was no really great lock-on function for swords. So it made it much, let's say, easier to actually control the Armored Core, the mech, and allowed for them to give much more dynamic mission options, movement options. It gave them a lot more mobility with the story and the gameplay. I appreciate it. A lot of people really didn't at first. So at this point in the tutorial, they're saying if you hold down the button to fire your missiles, it will multi-lock. And although that was an option in the older games, it's much better now. You get a lot more control. Whereas before you'd have to switch to your missiles and then flail around and hope that you get the right amount on each enemy. The other big difference that I deeply appreciate is that they've obviously learned a lot about storytelling, especially from probably Sekiro.
Contaminated city down there. That's where you're landing.
And so,
Access the catapult.
and so already at this point, you've got much more story in where the character's from, what we're doing, what the planet is, than any of the other ones. In Master of Arena, for example, at the end of the mission, you find out that there's something resembling revenge part of it, and who you're angry about. I think it's Nine Ball, but Last Raven has a lot of story as well. But that was later on, and so I appreciate that with this Armored Core, they actually try to tell a story. And not only do they try, they do a really great job, and it's a great story.
2 repair kits remaining.
In my opinion.
we get our hands on Rubicon's coral, we'll make a killing. Plenty for a merc with a fried brain like you to buy their life back. Enough chat, back to work. Scavenge the AC Rex ahead and find a valid mercenary license. We're illegals here. You'll need ID to operate.
That being said about the story, I've never been one that paid that close attention to the story in the previous Armored Cores. I always just really loved the combat, the gameplay loop where you have to redesign your Armored Core to fit the mission or the arena. And so it's always been that as the focus for me. So I'm not going to be talking too much about the story. Furthermore, there are much better people to do that than me, such as Armored Core Lore or Vati. So I'm going to try to avoid digging into that because for sure I'll just say something wrong.
An AC! Where the hell did that come from? Unknown. Shut it down!
Guerrillas from the Liberation Front. They'll get in the way of our work. Eliminate them. Picking up signals from AC Rex. Follow the markers.
In addition, this is the first Armored Core that I've come across, really, that had a proper... nope, that's wrong. I think Armored Core 4 and 5 had...
That's the AC from the report! Find out who they're working for.
had proper,
Good thing you've got a blade.
had proper tutorials. But this one is definitely better and much more robust versus the previous ones. For anybody who's just going to be watching this or listening to this, I think maybe I'll read some of these things out loud that we come across.
Extract the pilot data. I'll analyze it from my end.
License code, Thomas Kirk. License code extracted from an AC wreck in the contaminated city. Contains the pilot's registration data. And then it has a few things in there like his number, his call sign, and rank. Additionally, it has who he's affiliated with. So, in these Armored Core games, there are many wars always going on, and another crux of it is that corporations are heavily involved, and that's through all the Armored Cores. So they all kind of follow the same game loop in the same way that the Souls games do. And that this guy's license is expired. Not just because he's dead.
Expired. Keep looking. What?
Entry! We got something good!
Get out of there! You can handle them!
That's the PCA's planetside force. Keep a low profile. We don't want them breathing down our necks.
In classic FromSoft fashion, we know we're going to be fighting that thing later as the boss for the first area, for sure.
Analyzing.
License code G7 Hakra. In this game, you'll see below, or you might see below, that this person is affiliated with the Balaam Industries. So they refer to G6 or G7 or G8 as Gun. So this guy is Gun 7 Hakra. I think later on they reference this person. And they're very low ranked. They're affiliated with a company or a corp. and their license expires in 12 hours.
Corp license, easily traced. Forget it.
Okay, wait. Is that an independent? Destroy it!
You're outnumbered 6-1. Use your missiles. Let's see about this license.
License code Monkey Gordo. There's no rank, so this person was never ranked, isn't in the arena, but is an independent, and license expires in 15 days. I don't remember if I recognize that name later on or not.
It's still valid, but the pilot's rank is no good. We can't use this. I've picked up one more wreck, 621. Transmitting marker. Go and check it out. You can use that vertical catapult to get some altitude. That's it. Try accessing the wreck. Registration number RB23. Rank fits the bill. Call sign. What? Looks like they were onto you after all. No mood to pick a fight with the PCA. It doesn't matter. Take it out now, they won't have enough to ID you. Use your mobility in the air to get clear of explosions on the ground. We've got them now. They can kill 621. We got what we came for. Tie up the loose end, 621.
One repair kit remaining. Right shoulder ignition at 50%.
There we go.
Confirmed. Heavy combat helicopter is down. That's all for our work here today, 621. Here's the call sign from that license you picked up.
So, a couple things. That first boss there was difficult for a lot of people. I know that the first time I fought it, it beat me. The main thing to watch out for there is the rocket pods. When it goes boing, 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 you gotta get out of the way. Those things will hurt a lot. It'll stagger you a lot. They're really, really devastating. So those are the primary things that you want to keep out for. Everything else is just, keep moving. Don't worry about it. The other thing that you want to leverage there is your sword. Whenever possible, get up there, hit it with your sword, and never stop firing whenever you can hit it with your missiles and your guns. Eventually, you'll stun it. You'll be able to get some big hits in with whatever you've got, preferably your sword. But that's kind of the main thing with that one. Now, the other thing, this one's license code is Raven. That's huge. In all of the games that I love the most, the mercenary groups or the mercenaries were all called Ravens. That was what they were called. In later iterations, they ended up being called things like Lynxes, I think in Armored Core 4. So, when they brought back Raven, that was, or at least a reference to it, that made, I know a lot of other people really stoked and happy and hyped. For me, it was something really special. I don't know what else to say. It was really special. In this case, this one's call sign is Raven, and the rank is F. And that's pretty classic. Any of the previous games, you always start at the bottom of the arena. That's where the rank comes from, so that you can build your way up. It's just a game mechanic, nothing fancy. Affiliation, independent. That's also very classic for any of the previous games. That allows you to take jobs from any corporation, any group, any individual, so that you can roleplay more as the mercenary. License expires in 3 days. I don't know if that means that the whole storyline of this game takes place in 3 days. Like in Last Raven, I think it takes place in 1 day, which is insane, especially considering how much goes into that story. And just imagining being a mechanic of one of these things when it's coming in every hour. I don't know if anybody thought about that before, but no, I wouldn't take that job.
Raven. That's your new name here on Rubicon.
Coral, a sublime substance. Discovered on Rubicon, a planet on the frontier of developed space. For a time, coral was a revolutionary energy resource and data conduit, poised to transform human society by leaps and bounds. They called it the Fires of Ibis, a storm of flame that tore through the stars, leaving lethal contamination in its wake. Coral, the kindling, was thought to have been utterly consumed, forever lost. However, on Rubicon, the embers continued to burn. Humanity would inevitably return to stoke the fire.
Registration number RB23. Call sign Raven. Authentication complete. Removing MIA status. Restoring access privileges. This is Allmind, the mercenary support system. Welcome back, Raven.
Looks like you passed the authentication. Raven. That's who you are now, here on Rubicon. I've picked up some work for you already. Take a look, 621.
This notification follows restoral of access privileges. Allmind provides a combat training simulator to support its mercenaries. Your license was in a suspended state. Perhaps you may need a refresher. As an added incentive, completion of the exercises will be rewarded with AC parts. You stand to benefit regardless.
I just remembered part of the story where my neighbor went to town when I was a little kid, and she picked up Master of Arena. I didn't realize that there were 3 different games out at that point. I only played the demo disc. So there was Armored Core, there was Armored Core Project Phantasma, and then there was Armored Core Master of Arena. I remember as a kid being kind of mad that she didn't pick up the same game, that she didn't pick up the first one. The one that I played on demo disc. Knowing what I know now, and having played through Armored Core 1, where there wasn't, if I remember correctly, an arena, and it was just story mode, I really feel lucky that she did end up picking that, and that I was silly in hindsight. Because Master of Arena is, I consider, one of my favorites still. It was much bigger than the first 2. It had a story mode, and it introduced a vast array of arena options, and it had a better story. I feel very lucky that that was the first game that I got, and grateful to my neighbor who picked it up for me. I don't want to keep this first video too long, so what I think I'll do is just go through the training and look at the missions and figure out which one I want to play next. And then we'll resume there. So let's take up this training. Learn to pilot an AC and master fundamental battle techniques from the training menu. Complete the exercises using the training AC to earn standardized training parts used for instruction. One nice thing about these is not only do they teach you some of the mechanics, they also reward you with those parts. If you don't like those parts, all the better. You can sell them and buy ones that you do want. So, especially early off, and especially when you're new, it's always a good idea to go through these trainings, and for the same reasons, any arena missions or arena matches that come up. This one mentions the lock-on assist. As I mentioned earlier, that's the way that this can work, where there's a full lock-on and a soft lock-on where you can just easily move between. You can still move between with the hard lock-on, you can manually override it. So I prefer this, which is probably in stark contrast to many of the veterans that have played this before. The reason being is the way that they balance it, the developers, is they lowered the innate accuracy when you are using this big hard lock-on function. It never really hurt me in the past. Maybe since it's been a year they've changed it and made it even less accurate, but I will be using it until they punish me enough. This I forget, and I wish to remember how to manually reload. Let's see if I can figure it out, given that those are not the same buttons I'm using. Got it. So it's the same as the fire button, and for me, triangle on the PlayStation controller. This mechanic here, scanning, lets you see things that are behind walls, or off in the distance, and more than just enemies. It's a mechanic that was added, I think, in Armored Core 5, and it was much more, if I remember correctly, important in Armored Core 5 as well. So at this point I'm getting a machine gun. I definitely have preferences, at least in the older Armored Cores, with weaponry. And I'm going to definitely be bringing those biases with me. I'll try my best to not, or at least to try new weapons, since I know that there have been many patches since I last played this. In the early Armored Cores there were no clips like what we see here, and I very much favored machine guns. Although they weren't overpowered by any means, the large clips and the quick fire rate gave me a lot of flexibility. When they did add the clips and severely brought their damage down, I ended up switching to using the rifles instead of using the machine guns, like what we have by default installed here. When this game came around, because they added the effects of impact and the ability to break those, it opened up more options for shotguns, which I had entirely avoided until then, and bazookas. So, although I have my biases, and I'm still a little bit trigger shy from machine guns in these, or at least in the newer ones, I still love them in the old ones. I'll try to use a wide variety. So because we don't have a story yet, and we've only got one other gun, there's not much reason to talk about the assembly just yet. So we'll get to the AC design in the next video. And in the next video, I will also be picking between one of these two missions. Most likely, imagining myself as role-playing slightly, at the very least, the one that pays more. Thank you for watching, and again, this is Neil. We'll be playing through the whole game. And if, you know, honestly, I was about to say, if there's interest, I'll platinum it and record all those other videos. But, knowing me and how much I love this game, I'm just gonna do it for me. And anybody who wants to watch this in the future, who might miss me for any reasons, or who might know me and like my voice. So, I will be playing through the whole thing. I'm looking forward to it greatly. Goodbye.